Imagine this. You go to a party, you drink irresponsibly, you get drunk, and then you get in your car and you drive back home, and you arrive safely. Now your neighbor also goes to the same party, he drinks irresponsibly, gets equally drunk, and then drives back home. Now on his way back home, a child crosses the street. Now your neighbor's reaction time has been impaired by the alcohol. He was intoxicated.
Are you intoxicated?
So he was not able to swerve out of the way in time. So he ran over the child and killed him. The cops show up. He is charged with driving under the influence and vehicular manslaughter. He's thrown in jail. Everybody is judging him very harshly, and rightly so. The child's parents are furious. His parents are furious. His friends, his colleagues, society at large. How can you be so reckless? How can you be so irresponsible? How can you drive in that state? How can you endanger people's lives like that? He is consumed with guilt, and this whole incident has defined and tainted his entire life. You, on the other hand, did not face any consequences. You went home, you slept, you snored loudly, woke up the next morning as if nothing happened. Even if your friend found out that you drove home in that drunken state, he'll say something like this: "Dude, did you drive back home last night? I saw you, you were hammered, you were drunk, you were intoxicated."
Are you intoxicated?
Dude, that was dangerous, man, driving home drunk like that. Thank God you're safe.
But be careful in future.
Anyways, you guys want to order some burgers? You want to order some burgers? All right.
I wanna eat some burger and steak.
And you forget about it. Now notice that you and your neighbor were equally immoral. You were equally culpable. You were equally reckless. You were equally irresponsible. You engaged in the exact same immoral behavior. Copy-paste. The only difference is a factor that was beyond your control and beyond his control, namely the child who was crossing the street. Yet, he is judged extremely harshly and his life is ruined, while you face no such consequences. This is what philosophers like Thomas Nagel call moral luck. And in this specific case, it is a special type of moral luck called resultant moral luck. It is moral luck related to the results of your action. You both committed the same act, but the result was different. It's resultant moral luck. There are other types of moral luck. Let's take another example. Your neighbor cheats on his wife. Not the same neighbor. That neighbor is in jail now. Even if he wanted to cheat, he can't. The other neighbor. He cheats on his wife. You, on the other hand, never cheated on your wife. You are clearly more moral than your neighbor. Or are you? Perhaps you never cheated on your wife because of factors that are beyond your control. It might be a case of constitutive moral luck. This is moral luck related to your constitution, to the kind of person that you are. So for example, there's a personality trait called conscientiousness. If you score high on conscientiousness, you are more likely to do the right thing. You are more likely to be diligent, you are more likely to be responsible, you are more likely to do the right thing, you are less likely to engage in risky or reckless behavior. You're more disciplined and you have more self-control. So perhaps you score very high on conscientiousness, while your neighbor scores very low on conscientiousness. And note that this personality trait is beyond your control. You don't choose your personality. It's mostly genetic, really. So it's beyond your control, yet it influences your behavior. Also, it could be the case that your appetite for the ladies, your desire for the ladies is not very strong. You don't have that flaming obsession with the ladies. Sure, you like women. Sure, you can appreciate an attractive woman, but you don't have that intense drive. Your neighbor, on the other hand, has a huge appetite for the ladies, and he has an insane drive towards the ladies, and he's obsessed with beautiful women. I have friends like that. Like we're walking in the mall, and if a beautiful lady passes by, he will have to stare. Like not even like a sneaky glance, at the corner of his eye, like, okay. No, he will stare, like his jaw drops, he's drooling. Okay, maybe not drooling, but, he's just looking like, dude, check this girl out. Do you see that girl? Like he has no self-control. One time we were at a cafe and he was staring at a girl. Then he said, "Oh my God, like what happened?" He said, "Her husband saw me checking her out." Again, he's not a bad person. It's not like he's disrespecting the lady's husband. It's just that when he sees a beautiful girl, he just looks. Even if he's with his wife and a beautiful lady passes by, he's looking like, "Hey, I'm with you. I'm your wife. Don't look at beautiful women." He can't help it. Again, he's not really a bad person. He just can't help it. It's like a cat. If you dangle a bunch of keys in front of the cat's like, she can't not look at the keys. She becomes fascinated by the keys. This is the same thing. If you dangle a beautiful woman in front of him, he will have to look. He can't help it. It's like you cannot hold him to the same standards as the average guy.
You gotta let some slide.
Dude, this guy is like almost, it's like a sickness, you know? Yeah, let it go, let it go. It's that kind of situation. So imagine your neighbor was like that. So he is low on conscientiousness, he has low willpower, weak willpower, and he has a huge desire and obsession and drive for the ladies. So the desire overcomes his willpower. You, on the other hand, it's the opposite. Your willpower, your conscientiousness is high, and your appetite and desire and drive are relatively low, so you can manage. If it was the other way around, maybe you would have caved. Also, it might be the case that you had circumstantial moral luck on your side. Circumstantial moral luck, as the name suggests, is moral luck related to the circumstances that you find yourself in. So, for example, your neighbor might work at a place where he's surrounded by very beautiful, flirtatious women. So he's tempted every day. You, on the other hand, work on a construction site. There are no ladies around. You're surrounded by sweaty, hairy dudes. Even if you wanted to cheat, there are no women around.
A man is basically as faithful as his options.
Also, your neighbor might have been directly pursued and directly seduced by an attractive woman. You, on the other hand, nobody tried to seduce you. Maybe if you were seduced by a beautiful woman, you would have caved. If a woman chases you...
If it chases us, we can't run that fast. It gonna catch us. We're like, pull the hamstring. It got me, it got me, it got me.
So it's easy for you to say, I never cheated on my wife. Yeah, but nobody seduced you.
I would never do such a thing. This is a travesty. I'm like, nobody's trying to you.
Your neighbor gets seduced on a daily basis. You, on the other hand, don't have that problem. It's not like you're walking around saying,
man, I wish these would back up off me. I wish they would just back the up off of brother. Let a player play.
Also, it could be the case that your neighbor is a very handsome, very charming man, and the ladies are drawn to him. So if he wants to have an affair with a woman, it's easy. He can easily get her. You, on the other hand, might be unattractive. You might not be smooth with the ladies. So perhaps you've seen an attractive woman and you wanted to, get with her, but you couldn't pull it off. You're not attractive enough. Perhaps you wanted to cheat on your wife, but you were never that smooth. You were never that attractive. So even if you hit on a girl, she doesn't respond. Perhaps you don't even hit on a girl because you expect that you're going to be rejected.
Rejected!
You're afraid of rejection, you're afraid of failure, because you're not particularly handsome or you're not particularly charming. Therefore, you don't go for it. And thus, you never cheat. So yes, you never cheated on your wife, but perhaps it's not because you are particularly loyal, it's because you're particularly ugly. I don't know why I'm being unnecessarily mean, but you get the point. So don't underestimate the power of circumstantial moral luck.
If someone was more encouraging to Hitler in like his art class, like,
right.
Hey, that sculpting, it's not that bad. Don't you think so?
You can have a guy, let's call him John, who is not a very good person, who has the potential to be a monster.
You ever hear monster?
However, luckily for everyone, he happens to be poor. He happens to have a very low-level job, like an admin clerk or a junior accountant at a very small firm. So he has no money, he has no resources, he has no power, he has no authority. So he goes through life without any incident. But if John happens to be in a position of power, say he is a high-ranking government official or a CEO of a very large company, or he was in a position of leadership, he might have used his power and authority to destroy people's lives, to abuse his subordinates, to engage in unspeakable, immoral, evil acts. But luckily, the circumstances prevented his dark nature from manifesting itself. And if you ask his colleagues, what do you think of John? Oh, John seems like a nice guy. He's a little quiet. So this circumstantial moral luck was the difference between John, the meek, quiet accountant, versus John, the evil monster.
The monster.
Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that if somebody does something immoral, we should excuse it and say he was unlucky. No. Even if moral luck was working against you, if you were dealt an unlucky hand, you still have to act morally. You just have to work harder to do the right thing. But if you do something immoral, we have to label it as immoral. We have to condemn it. We should not condone evil acts. So my speech is not aimed at people who do immoral things. My speech is aimed at people who do not do immoral things. So if your neighbor does something immoral, by all means label it as immoral. Condemn that behavior. However, please don't get all self-righteous. Please don't have that air of moral superiority. No, you have to have humility. You have to be humble. You have to be thankful and grateful. You should look at that act and say, that is immoral. I am glad that I haven't engaged in such behavior. Thank God that I haven't done such an immoral thing. I don't want to act like that, and I hope to God I never do, and I'm committed to avoid acting in such a way. And you should realize that, yes, perhaps you are a better person than your neighbor, but perhaps you're not. Perhaps you just got lucky. It's not like you're walking around saying, I wish these girls would back up off a brother and let her play a play.